Everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about conus medullaris and cauda equina and the respective syndromes and the causes and how to differentiate them. So to begin with, going to draw the spinal cord. So this is the terminal part of the spinal cord, which I am shading here, and this terminal part of the spinal cord is what is called as the conus medullaris because it is conical in shape, and this is nothing but the sacral spinal cord. So this conus medullaris has the sacral spinal cord, and that will lie just corresponding to the T12 to L2 vertebral level. So this is the first foremost thing that is very important. Next, I am going to draw the filum terminale, which is suspending the spinal cord and connecting it to the dura. So this is the filum terminale. So now I am going to draw the various nerve roots. I am drawing the nerve roots in yellow as you can see here. As you can see, below the level of, as you know, the spinal cord ends at the level of L1, L2 junction. So below that level, the spinal roots will get suspended within the spinal CSF, within the CSF of the spinal canal. So these suspended nerve roots are what are called as the cauda equina fibers. So these are the cauda equina fibers. There are roughly 10 pairs of fibers. These are the nerve roots, and there are 10 pairs extending from the L3 level up to the cos6 level. So sometimes it can go up to L2 and sometimes L3. So now we need to differentiate the causes of the respective syndromes. So first, the conus medullaris, and we are going to differentiate it from cauda equina. So first and foremost thing to remember is that the conus medullaris is spinal cord itself, and this will lie at the level of T12 to L2 vertebra, and that is the basic thing that we have to remember. And the cauda equina are nothing but nerve root fibers. So now this usually lies below the level of L2 or L3 and below the L2 or L3 vertebral level. So the first and foremost cause is injuries at the T12 to L2 level. This is very common, thoracolumbar fractures. Second thing is tumors. And the most common tumor, or the most important tumor, is the myxopapillary ependymoma. That is the most common tumor that is happening at this place. The third thing is vascular lesions involving the spinal cord. And coming to cauda equina, the common causes are extruded lumbar disc at the L4, L5 level or L5, S1 level. Tumors being schwannomas and neurofibromas. So neurofibromas and schwannomas are the common tumors happening here. So now we need to differentiate cauda equina into incomplete or complete based on a few things, based on two things: whether based on there is incontinence or retention. So if there is incontinence or retention, either of these is present, then that is going to be complete cauda equina, and if it is absent, then it is going to be incomplete cauda equina. The second thing we need to know is the differences between the cauda equina and conus medullaris. So we are going to discuss the differences based on only four things. One is the pain, second is the motor disturbances, third is the sensory disturbances, and fourthly the autonomic disturbances or the bladder disturbances. So what is happening to all these, which we are going to discuss in a bit. So now differentiating between the conus medullaris and cauda equina, always remember that first thing is the pain. There will be no pain in conus medullaris. It is very uncommon, whereas cauda equina is going to have a radicular type of pain, and that is going to be early pain. Why is this happening is because conus medullaris, we all know, is a spinal cord lesion, right? It is a spinal cord lesion, whereas cauda equina is going to be a nerve root lesion. So nerve root lesions will be more painful. And the second thing now we are going to do is the motor. So the motor disturbance happening here in conus medullaris lesion is paralysis of pelvic floor muscles. The entire pelvic floor will get paralyzed in conus medullaris lesion. whereas in cauda equina lesions, it is usually peripheral type. And sensory disturbance seen here is going to be a symmetric sedal anesthesia. Symmetric sedal anesthesia, very similar on either sides. And the bladder disturbance or the autonomic disturbance that is seen here is going to be, since the local bladder center is being affected, the entire sacral bladder center is going to be affected here. So because of that, we are going to get an autonomous neurogenic bladder. So we are going to get an autonomous neurogenic bladder, that is the effect of the entire local bladder center being affected. All right. So now coming to the cauda equina, we discussed about the pain. The pain is going to be early radicular pain, and the motor disturbance is going to be ipsilateral or unilateral peripheral type of weakness. Ipsilateral or unilateral peripheral type of weakness, and there will be an asymmetric saddle anesthesia, meaning there will be no symmetricity. One side will be affected more. Saddle anesthesia, which is asymmetric, and late bladder disturbances is what is characteristic of cauda equina syndrome. So this will summarize the differences between them. Thank you.